My brother Knights, it was the summer of 1873, and a young man stood at a crossroads. His father was dead. He had no money for tuition, but he had a mother and younger brothers and sisters to support. But then the Holy Spirit intervened. Powerful people became aware of the young man's light. They saw in him character. They saw in him promise. The promise of a man on a mission. And so they arranged for a scholarship. 4 years later, he was ordained by Baltimore's Archbishop James Gibbons in the Cathedral of the Assumption. Father McGivney had arrived in the birthplace of the Catholic Church in the United States. More than a century later, another man came to Baltimore, and he addressed the world from that cathedral of baseball, Orioles Park at Camden Yards. Catholics of America, St. John Paul II proclaimed, always be guided by the truth, to be convincing witnesses to the truth. In their own ways, St. John Paul II and Father McGivney understood a simple truth. People protect what they value. But if we value charity, if we value unity and fraternity, we will build a society where the common good is protected. And if we value these things, then we will protect the freedom that makes them possible.
In August 2018, the Knights of Columbus held its 136th Supreme Convention in Baltimore, Maryland. It was a remarkable gathering of brother knights from across the United States, Canada, Mexico, the Philippines, Cuba, Poland, Ukraine, Lithuania, France, and South Korea. They came to renew their commitment to the Order's principles: charity, unity, fraternity, and patriotism. Supreme Chaplain Archbishop William Lori, who was thrilled to be hosting the convention in his home diocese of Baltimore, celebrated the opening Mass with 74 brother bishops, including 10 cardinals.
We are here this morning because we are convinced that active membership in the Knights of Columbus is a supremely important way to answer that baptismal calling to love, to unite in fraternal support, in putting into practice the principle of charity, in serving the poor and the vulnerable, to practice a charity that evangelizes, a charity that, in spite of obstacles, opens minds and hearts to Christ and to the gospel.
It's not every day that you see a couple hundred priests joined by 80 bishops or so, all gathering together in one spot. And it was great to hear our shepherds speak to us throughout the weekend and sharing really insightful thoughts about service, about family, and about the word and truth of Jesus Christ.
I love the Masses. The Masses are just angelic. They can create a church out of a convention center. It's just awesome. And they do it year after year after year.
The Holy Father sent an official greeting, thanking the Knights of Charity, especially for their witness to the gospel of the family and their support for persecuted Christians.
Pope Francis encourages the persevering efforts of the Knights of Columbus at every level to bear witness to the love of God through concrete love and solidarity for the poor and those in any need.
Knights received greetings from heads of state and welcomed an international audience in proceedings that were shared live around the world in multiple languages on 3 Catholic networks.
The 136th Knights of Columbus Convention happening now in Baltimore, Maryland.
I'm proud to say that our charitable contributions surged to more than $185 million. That's an increase from last year's record of $177 million. And it's one of the largest year-to-year increases in our history. So let me commend and thank every jurisdiction that helped us to achieve that goal.
The Order also donated more than 75.6 million volunteer hours, an increase of more than 500,000.
Now, the cumulative numbers are impressive, but more impressive is the fact that these works are done by individual Knights in their local communities, works done by men who are true Knights of Charity, men who are everyday heroes.
My Catholic faith keeps me motivated, and it means a lot to me that the Knights support Special Olympics.
The Knights of Columbus is a tremendous organization. It's just another opportunity for us to live our faith, to do an act of kindness for someone in need.
Last year, Knights of Charity distributed more than 105,000 new coats to children and nearly 4 million pounds of food through the Food for Families program. Knights donated 7,649 wheelchairs through a partnership with the Global Wheelchair Mission and marked the Order's 50th anniversary of participation with Special Olympics. Councils donated nearly $6 million last year, and 76,000 Knights gave more than 350,000 hours at more than 12,500 Special Olympics events. When hurricanes hit Houston, Texas, Florida, and Puerto Rico last year, Knights responded with valor and courage.
Pope Francis has called charity the heart of the Church and the soul of its mission. And at no time was this embodied more than in the hurricanes with their crippling floods. It was a time of devastation, but it was also a time of heroes.
The Supreme Knight shared the heroic story of Army First Lieutenant Jacob Cortez, who led a daring rescue of more than 24 neighbors trapped by rising floodwaters caused by Hurricane Harvey.
The Knights of Columbus, it's always been about helping families who can't help themselves. And I think that was something paramount that we did during the rescue. The news will fade away, but the Knights will not. We'll be here for the community.
When Hurricane Maria laid waste to Puerto Rico, Brother Knights took a leading role in relief efforts. Jose Lebron stepped up and organized a convoy of 10 pickup trucks to distribute food, water, and power generators, and continued to be a volunteer leader for months in the hurricane's aftermath.
I asked to God what I have to do to take care of the members. I really feel that He told me, ask to forgive me. And I feel that He said, take care of my members. Yo espero que al Padre McGiffney le guste lo que hemos hecho los Caballeros de Colombia.
Throughout the world, the leading causes of death are disease and poverty, but sadly, not in the United States. Here, the leading cause of death is abortion. Since 1973, abortion has caused the deaths of approximately 60 million children. My brother Knights, the evidence is overwhelming Just look and listen. So today we ask our nation's leaders, do you not have eyes that see and ears that hear? I will repeat what I have said before from this podium. I do not see how it is possible to build a culture of life in America as long as our elected officials harden their hearts to the cries of unborn children.
Knights of Charity defend the culture of life, from conception to natural death, in numerous ways, including strong presence and support at pro-life marches, and perhaps most impactfully, through the Knights of Columbus Ultrasound Initiative, which will soon reach its goal of 1,000 life-saving ultrasound machines donated to crisis pregnancy centers.
In that room is when I finally made my decision. It's because as soon as I saw Brooklyn move on the screen, I was like, she's alive, she's so tiny, I have to have her.
But even when we reach our goal, our work will continue, because what greater legacy can a council have, can any of us have, than to save the life of a child? And this initiative will save 1 million lives.
Historically, the Knights have defended the persecuted and boldly defended religious freedom. From 19th century anti-Catholic bigots to the KKK, Knights have stood in the breach, and they have been victorious. Today, this commitment continues, as the Knights refuse to abandon Christians on the verge of extinction in the Middle East. Since 2014, the Order has committed more than $19 million to aid persecuted Christians in the region. This work has been recognized around the world and reached the corridors of the White House.
It's heartbreaking to think that the Christian population has plummeted, whether in Mosul, in Iraq, or in Syria. The followers of Christ have fallen by 80% in the last decade and a half. This must end. This will end. Carl Anderson and the Knights of Columbus, let me just say thank you for your extraordinary work caring for the persecuted.
Last year, I reported to you on the Iraqi town of Karamlis. It had been a Christian town for centuries before ISIS overran it, drove out its inhabitants, destroyed their homes, and desecrated their churches. Now, with the defeat of ISIS, the Christians were ready to return, but their town was in ruins. So who would help them rebuild? You met that challenge. Today, with $2 million from the Knights of Columbus, the town is being rebuilt and Christian families are returning home.
No one was there to help, no UN, no Iraqi government. The Knights came working closely with us to help easing the suffering of those displaced families, to say, we'll support you, we will be in this together. That gave great hope for the Christian community, and that's why today we have so many families return to their liberated villages.
This year, I'm asking you to raise an additional $1 million to finish the McGivney House project and provide a place for these Christian families to live.
Knights of Charity help not only the war-torn, but also the warriors, many of whom return home with both physical and spiritual wounds. Working with the Archdiocese of the Military Services and military councils, the Order sponsored more than 200 wounded veterans, family members, and chaplains on the annual Warriors to Lords pilgrimage.
So here we bring our sick, our wounded, our ill, and our injured to join our brothers and sisters from the militaries of over 40 nations, where they can, in fact, seek the healing and the peace that they need.
The Knights' commitment to charity and support for the Church is anchored in its membership. And in the past fraternal year, the order grew to an all-time high of 1,967,585 men. Around the world, the order responded to Christ's call with another stellar year of service and of growth. In Asia, Europe, and Latin America, Brother Knights of Charity are building for the future. During the meeting, the Supreme Knight announced Korea as the order's newest territory and Ukraine as the newest state council.
So yes, my brother knights, I'm proud to say that the state of our order is good, which is precisely why we must turn our attention to what's ahead. We must step up now to bring younger men into the order. We must reach out to where they are, not to where we think they should be. This is what Father McGivney did, using the means and the tools of his day. It's time to think in new ways for a new generation.
At the heart of the Order's Charity for Families are the affordable insurance programs that secure their financial future.
Father McGivney understood a simple truth. People protect what they value. We are ranked among the Fortune 1000 lists of America's largest companies. And just recently, Standard & Poor's listed the Knights of Columbus as one of the 6 strongest life insurers in North America, putting us at the very top of the industry.
The Knights was also named the world's most ethical company by the Ethisphere Institute for the 5th year in a row. On Tuesday evening, more than 2,000 Knights, delegates, their families, and guests celebrated together at the festive States Dinner. At the dinner, Cardinal Daniel DiNardo of Houston offered personal thanks to the Knights for their help to the people of his archdiocese after Hurricane Harvey.
When adversity struck, the Knights of Columbus stepped forth and bore a great witness to the gospel. I thank all of you for this generosity.
Keynote speaker, His Beatitude Sviatoslav Shevchuk, also expressed gratitude to the Knights for their presence in Ukraine.
Thank you, my dear brother Knights, for helping us mobilize our best men to become Knights of Columbus and Knights of Charity.
Icons of Our Lady Help of Persecuted Christians were blessed for the Order's 18th prayer program.
This icon of Our Lady Help of Persecuted Christians touches my heart and the hearts of my people in the Middle East who have suffered so much simply for professing the name of Jesus. Our Lady Help of Persecuted Christians, pray for us.
At the annual awards session, the Supreme Council recognized the exceptional achievements of Knights of Charity around the world. The 2018 International Family of the Year Award was presented to the Young family of St. Martin de Porres Council 7551 in Poughkeepsie, New York. Ryan Young addressed the convention and urged all Knights to continue to fight for souls.
The point of our charity is to provide moments that we can bring souls to introduction to Jesus Christ. Souls are the scorecard, gentlemen. It's the only scorecard. Thank you for being the heroes of this time. Thank you for answering the call in this battle for souls.
During the final business session of the convention, delegates adopted resolutions honoring our armed forces in defense of religious liberty, in solidarity with persecuted Christians, in support of an equitable immigration policy, commemorating the 100th anniversary of the conclusion of the First World War, welcoming the Republic of Korea territorial jurisdiction, and celebrating the establishment of the State Council of Ukraine. At the final business session, the Supreme Chaplain encouraged Knights to offer Christ's charity both inside and outside the church.
Just as you and your brother Knights are everyday heroes in responding to disasters, to special needs, to people in distress, so too you are being asked to be the first responders to the church in a very difficult and distressing hour of her history.
When we're tempted to think the church is on the run, when we're tempted to think that the church is surrendering, come to the Supreme Convention, because you'll see not the white flag of a surrender, you'll see the white flag of the triumph and victory of Jesus Christ on Easter Sunday morning. Faith in action through the Knights of Columbus.
Finally, as many of you know, the Knights of Columbus has had a long connection with the Basilica of the National Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. Earlier this fraternal year, the great Trinity Dome of the Basilica was completed, where the words, "Please pray for the Knights of Columbus," had been added to the dome mosaic. I thought, how wonderfully appropriate to place the Knights of Columbus under the protection of Our Lady in the house for her that we have helped to build. Standing there at the highest point of this magnificent basilica, honoring Our Lady, I thought of another, much smaller, beautiful church, named for her, where a group of committed men had met in the basement. Those men would not build a magnificent church, but they would build a magnificent organization. An organization that brings Christ's charity to millions around the world. Christ lives in the history of each of our nations. He has changed the history of each of our nations. And we believe that in the future of each of our nations is directed toward Him. Today, let us resolve that as Knights of Charity, Knights of Unity, Knights of Fraternity, we will continue to change lives, and that by doing so, we will continue to change history. Viva Jesus!